Well, hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Derp Your Hooves. So today we're going to be flying the H-160 in Japan, and we're going to be flying a little differently today. So what we're going to do is, and I'm just using this as a point of reference to show you that it can be done. You guys can use whatever you want, so RJNW. Okay. So we're going to bring up Little Navmaps here. There it is. Little Navmaps. We want RJNW, so we're going to go ahead and in our search we're going to type in RJNW, and it's going to take us right there, and I can click on this as select this as departure, and then we want it to go to RJNT. Now, this is not an add-on. This is actually a separate program that you can download. And we're going to use that as the destination. So, like we're using the map in the background, but we're not. We're going to use Little Navmaps, and we're just going to make a really short kind of little trip for a really short little video. But one of the things that you can do with Little Navmaps after you set it up is not only can you just do a point-to-point like you would in the sim, but you can do all kinds of other really cool things. Like, for example, now I've pretty much searched this out, and I'm just going to make a really simple flight plan. So from RJNW, which is what we're departing from, well, let's go ahead and see our departure procedures. Right. Well, let's select a runway first. All right. RJNW. Here it is. So we have 25 and 7. So why don't we depart from runway 7? Yeah, let's do that. Let's depart from runway 7. And I'm actually just gonna hide. Well, now I can always bring the search back. So from RJNW, we are going to select a departure runway. And I wanted, let's say I want runway 7. And it's going to say runway 7. And it's going to show me, and now it's appended right here, and it has, we have departure procedures, everything, arrivals. So we have that, but let's go here to RJNT, because that's going to be our arrival. And let's zoom in on it. Well, let's say, set a destination runway for RJNT. 2 and 20. And I'm going to say, what happens if I hit 2? It's going to take us in the back end like that. Okay. To runway 2. Now, let's say I don't want runway 2. I can just go here and I can say, remove it, delete legs, and RJNT. Instead of 2, I want 20. And it'll now give me runway 20. So it's basically giving me a point-to-point, and I've selected what runways I want to take off from and what runways I want to land on. And this can be pretty helpful, but let's say I also say, well, I want to select a couple of, I don't know, some places to go fly to. So let's just say that I want to add this, add position of flight plan, and let's add this position of flight plan. So that'll do for right now. We're just going to make a straight box, and we're just going to do that. So with that said, the only other thing that we need to do for the sim is we have to select a starting point. Add holding. And let's look for the starting point. So we're looking for the starting point, and it'll tell me right here, actually. It's a way to cheat, but... So we're going to go ahead and we're going to save this. We're going to export the flight plan as a 2020 plan, and we're going to export it to where I want it to, and we're going to call it demo flight. And when I hit save, it's going to say, oh, it's not going to say anything at all. Okay, because I chose the active runway as a departure. Okay, usually it asks me for that. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to collapse Little Navmaps. Or actually, I'm just going to drag it off screen for right now. And then we're going to go here into... let's get rid of our cameras really quick, because you can't see what I'm about to do if I leave the cameras up, our little hand cameras. Alright, collective. Collective goes away. So we're going to go to more, load save, load from the PC, and then I know you can't see where I'm loading it from, but that's fine, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select where I'm loading it from. And just take me a second to navigate there. Flight plans. And the one I just did, and it should say demo flight. Demo flight, demo flight. By date modified. Demo flight, there it is. I just had to hit refresh. And we open it, and you see there's our flight in the sim. So we basically just loaded a flight plan from Little Navmaps. We loaded an open flight plan. And so instead of going from one point to the one point, and you can do the same thing where you could just add the destinations, it lets you do this, but Little Navmaps will let you do so much more. So let's go ahead and let's fly. And let's get going. Okay, so here we are, and we're in, and there's our helicopter. And let's hit ready to fly, and let's wait for our HPG screens to load, because sometimes they take a while to load. Seems to be something happens with me and HPG helicopters. I don't know what happens to everybody else. But, so I'm just going to quickly go over here, and I have a bunch of presets. I'm going to hit map, and map. And it's going to show us, it's going to show us that the screen is too bright. Alright, system, backlight. That works for me. Back, map. Nah, it's still kind of bright, don't you think? Alright, system, backlight, 543. Back, map. And we can do it to both of them. I'm not sure why everything's so bright lately. Every time this helicopter loads, it seems to load kind of bright, but you can always change your backlight. Okay, so we're going to zoom way out on one monitor, and it shows us our overall flight plan, right? And I can zoom in a little bit, because we're going to use that as a reference, and we can even zoom in more. And it shows us there on our departure runway. Well, not really. The sim should have loaded us in down at the end, but it didn't. Okay, well, anyhow, so small little discrepancy there. And we're just going to do a couple other things to this helicopter. And this helicopter is great, so we're going to mute that. And I'm going to make the screens a lot less bright, just because they're so bright they're glowing. And we're going to go over here, and that'll work. And then we're going to say hi to the cat. Now, when this helicopter loads, by default it loads as everybody in. And you say, what do you mean everybody in? Well, everybody in. I got a full load of people here. And let's just say I want to lessen my load. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to click on aircraft. And I'm going to click on crew and payload. And give myself 50% fuel. And let's just start adding and removing passengers with that. And that works for me. And I actually want to lower the brightness of the tablet to, it's just a bit too bright. One notch of brightness, please. Alright. One notch of brightness. Now, here's something I wanted to show you in the tablet. And we're going to go back and we're going to look at the passengers in a second. So, this Airbus helicopter comes with an automatic flight control system. Now, when I take off, I'm going to take off without hitting manual trim. I'm going to let the flight control system do the trim. And, you know, we have all these other extra features. We're not going to focus on them right now. We're going to make this kind of a simple tutorial. So, it's going to be very robotic when I lift off. Now let's go look at the passengers again real quick. So Alt 9 will bring me to my passengers. So we got this dude. And he's chatting it up with this dude. And then we got Leather Pants. She's my favorite because she's got zombie eyes. She looks like a zombie. Oh, and Murder Gloves is here. Yeah, okay, they're all here. Everybody's here. Wonderful. Alright, and then you have your freaky eyeball view. So, I've set up a couple of hotkeys for the views, like the outside view of our beautiful H-160. So, let's go ahead and let's lift off and I'll show you what I meant. So, as I pull up on the collective, the helicopter is going to go up, and if I push down on the stick, it will nose down, but it does so very robotically. Like, it's not natural. And it's the same thing with the roll from side to side. It's not natural. It's like flying in a box. So, it's my understanding. Oh, and I wanted to click one more thing, because I don't like that view. It's my understanding that this helicopter has an automatic flight control system in real life that I guess is similar to what HPG has implemented. And this can be really great, because when you're taking off and landing in the helicopter, it'll help you land straight. It'll also help you, if you hands off, fly the plane. So my hands are not really on there. I'm just going to turn the lights off and lower our landing gears. And here we are over this beautiful forest, which I guess is there too. But as I mean, it pretty much does it for me. So what I want to do is we're going to do a couple things here. I'm going to demonstrate the autopilot. So if I hit, let's just do it really quick. We're going to go ahead and set our airspeed while we're in the air. Don't do this, should have done this on the ground. But let's just set our airspeed like 100. And we don't need to set heading or an altitude because we're going to use our flight plan. So if I hit navigate, and then I hit airspeed, and let's just the altitude we're at. Now in theory, this plane should start flying the flight plan. Assuming that it can find the magenta line, which it is kind of struggling with right now. It looks like it's going back to finding it. So we'll go to our other screen over here, and we will look, and my pilot shows up, and you can see right here that it is looking for something. So let's get on the flight plan, because sometimes you have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead over here. You're going to say, well, this is terrible, Pony. How could you fly the plane like this? So even with the autopilot engaged, I am just going to gently nudge it to where it needs to be, because sometimes finding the start of the flight plan is what the plane needs to get to where it needs to go to. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And once we get on the magenta line, the aircraft, oh look, it's already trying to find it by itself. It's like, why are you fighting me? So, yeah, you're right. And me pulling up and down on the airspeed's probably not going to do much because we've set it, so on the collective, I mean. So hopefully it doesn't whip around at breakneck speed. But it looks like it's hunting for the magenta line so that it can begin the flight plan. That's what I would assume. That's what it normally does. And I am not flying the plane pretty much whatsoever at this point. I'm not pulling on the stick. Sorry, the cyclic or the collective, and I'm just watching it out of the corner of my eye as it's looking for the magenta line, as if it's trying to fly our flight plan. But you know what? I want to get to our flight plan. And I should have done this the minute I took off from the runway. And pay no attention to those bells, it just means that I'm overspeeding. So at this point, it should have kicked in. And what I can do is I can just hit nav, and it should go ahead and follow the magenta line. Oh, it's making a liar out of me. I love it when it does that. Alright, so all of that pending. I'm just going to turn that off because, well, I can see that it's paralleling the flight plan, but I want it to fly the flight plan exactly. Then we're just going to go on over here. And then we're going to hit navigate, airspeed, turn off our manual trim, hit altitude, take my hands off, and try and let it fly itself. Picky humans, fighting with machines. And it's leveling out, and I'm not flying it. As you can see, my hands are not on the collective or the cyclic. The helicopter itself is looking to go where it wants to go. I am not flying the plane. So unlike some of the other helicopters in the sim that you actually have to manually fly, this one comes with its autopilot, and I'm guessing it didn't make a liar out of me. It looks like it's trying to find the magenta line and fly the course. And I'm going to say that this is actually great for anyone who likes to fly helicopters, and maybe you want to fly long-haul trips, but you just don't want to hold the collective and the cyclic the entire time, like you would say with, I don't know, 407 or some of the other aftermarket helicopters that don't have an autopilot. And I'm just watching it on the 750, and it should follow the flight plan. And it should turn when it's supposed to turn. It should do everything that we did on Little Navmaps. Now again, I just wanted to mention that Little Navmaps is complete third-party software. It's free. I believe there's also donationware. A lot of people say, well, I want to use Navigraph and I want to use SimBrief, and which are great programs and they have great functions too, but this one's free. And once you learn how to set it up on your PC and install it, you can actually set up much more complex flights, something a little more real to life. Alright, so again, you can see here are my hands, right, off screen. See, they're over the cyclic, and they're over the cyclic and over the collective. I get them confused. But other than just giving them a light tap, the helicopter's literally flying itself. And if I just push the key to give us our external view, and I'm just going to touch the mouse. See, this is the cyclic. This is my mouse. The helicopter's literally flying itself. So it's using an autopilot. And so this is basically how you would use the autopilot for this helicopter. Now it comes with some other great features, and I'm going to cover that in a second, because I just don't want to use them right now. I'm just going to let the helicopter do its thing. And, you know, I mean, maybe for some of us who like the flight sim, and then we're just like, well, I love flight simming, but on some of these longer flights, you know, I want to get up and maybe, like, just nibble on my sandwich or drink my coffee, you know, while I'm going from A to B, and just kind of monitor the aircraft. And so you can do that. So you can see that we're coming up on the point. If you look on the left, 750, you see that we're coming to the first waypoint where it's going to turn, which is going to be right over here. And I'm not going to touch anything. My hands are not on anything. You can see my cyclic, and you can see my collective, and you can see that I have not touched them. That I've set the airspeed. I've set it to basic altitude. I haven't added an altitude. And look, there it goes, all by itself, flying.
Ha-ha! The fun has been doubled!
Now, it's also my understanding that the H-160, and hopefully I don't get this wrong in real life, actually has a feature like this where you can set a course, and, you know, it'll pretty much fly on autopilot. And here we go. And now it's following the other part of the flight plan, which is right here. And it's just going along, and so it's going to do the whole flight plan all by itself. And you can set as many waypoints as you want. If you're using Little Navmaps, you can get more detailed. And there's so much more that you can do with Little Navmaps than just point and click and set up a simple flight plan. I'm not going to get into that today, but it really is a great program. There's so much on it. There's other great tutorials on it. I just wanted to show you basically how you can use it along with the sim. And one thing I want to touch on is there may be some airports, airfields in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 that aren't in the Navmap database, or they're called something different. So, you know, I found that out firsthand a few times. And I'm like, well, then just what is the IACO code of that airport? And so I'll use, you know, my good old friend SkyVector, not to file a flight plan, but to actually just look up an IACO and maybe get some quick information. But it's all there in Little Navmaps. I mean, it shows you everything. And the one thing, well, I mean, the one thing I can show you in Little Navmaps too while we're here, but I didn't really, well, let's see if it's showing us. So I am just going to bring it up for a second. Little Navmaps. Come on, Little Navmaps. Alright. This is just me fumbling and bumbling. There we are. So there's Little Navmaps right there. So we're just going to go ahead and show you. Make it a little bigger. And you're saying, but Pony, I want to see what's going on. Well, let me show you what's going on. So that's us right there, tooling along on little nav maps in the helicopter. So it's actually tracking our position. So it tracked our little wavy flight, and then it tracked us over here, and I just have it running in the background, and it shows you where you are on your flight plan. So it shows us that we're right here. And I know that you can do this other programs. Again, I'm going to drop some names, and I'm going to say that I'm not being sponsored by anybody as of today, at least, to promote their products, but Volanta is also a great flight tracker, especially if you want to go do group flights and stuff. Volanta has a bunch of features, too, that are great. It offers free and pay, but so we're just kind of trucking along here, or flying along here, and we can actually just kind of make it smaller. No, I don't want you to think I'm cheating by touching things. So there we are. So it's just tracking us right there, which would be the same thing as looking on the GTN 750 in a way, but it's showing us on the map. Now, I am just going to go ahead and hide that because you get an idea of what it's doing, that it's showing us where we are. So I wanted to show you something else. So if I go ahead and I zoom into the tablet, and I forget what it was, 4, there we go. So if I zoom in on the tablet and I click out, and there's our unicorn wallpaper. Sorry, everybody, I can't help the brony in me. So, here we go, and it shows us little nav maps. Right there, little nav maps. And so it says to open little nav map tools, start web server. So I could show you that another time. Right now, we're not going to do that. But you can also access little nav maps in the tablet, which is really cool. So we're actually going to show you something else. So if I go to, let's see, what's on the tablet here as we're flying around. I mean, that is really cool. I like the scenery. But I'm trying to show you some of the tutorials where the helicopter's flying itself. Now, so if I was flying like the Bell 407, I wouldn't be able to do this. So if I go to Maps and Missions, it should bring me up a map, right? Ta-da! There we go, and it shows us our flight plan, and then we can zoom out. And it'll show us on a map, because we're in Japan, where we are, our flight plan, and our position, a lot like what it was showing us on Little Navmap, so I can have that going up in the background too. And you can see that it's tracking our progress. And we have map layers, mission library, settings. We're not going to get into any of that. Just zoom in and zoom out. Map orientation, you can have it north up. You can have it facing the nose of your helicopter or your heading. And it shows us right there where our heading is, 167. So that's pretty cool, because if I go ahead and I zoom back out, then it's also showing us on a map right there. I mean, we have the GTN 750, right? But it's showing us right there the same thing that it's showing us pretty much right here. Alright. And a creepy... Well, that happens when you set a secondary view on top of the default view. Sometimes it shows you the inside of the avatar's head. So, I mean, I'm basically sitting here and just letting this thing fly. And while I'm doing that, I can go back and I can be a passenger. And I can join in on whatever the conversation is. It almost looks like it's like one of those awkward moments here where like this guy's like, I think he's trying to sell him something. He's like, yeah, I'm telling you, it's the future. Zipcoin, look, and then you get this device, and you can only get the device through me, and then you go home, and then you hook it into your personal network, and don't worry about privacy or anything else, or, you know, people hooking into your network. Hey, see, he goes on to me. Yeah, it's the next big thing. It's the next big thing, dude, and you want to get on it, because I'm going to make you rich. You got to go through me. So I guess that's kind of what the conversation is here. And then we have, you know, zombie eyes back there. And you have this guy over here who's like, dude, if I hear about Zipcoin one more time, you know, and I don't want to get all stereotypical because, you know, then people are going to be like, Pony, I can't believe you. But I mean, I am just going to say, and I fondly call this guy Murder Gloves, because it's like, look at this. I mean, he's got a jacket on today. But I mean, he's got the murder gloves on. So, I don't know. Maybe I've been just watching a lot of movies. I was watching something where the guy kept putting gloves on. Oh, that's what it was. It was a Quentin Tarantino movie. So, yeah, that's probably why I'm on the kick. I didn't say he was going to murder you. You keep talking about zip coins. Yeah. Yeah. Don't buy into it. Okay. So then we can go back into the cockpit, and I can even say, well, you know, I mean, I'm happy because I've got my friend, the cat, and I've got a book to read. Well, the helicopter flies itself. And this is great. So I could sit here and I could say, well, I am enjoying my coffee, which I'm not actually right now. But I could actually go enjoy a coffee. You know what? As a matter of fact, nah. I'll wait on that. But I could go make a coffee. So what I'm going to do really quick here is I'm not going to leave you guys totally alone. Because that would be mean. But let's see. I've got to pick something that's not going to get me dinged. So let's go with that. This shouldn't get me dinged. And I can go make a coffee really quick.
This really is the best day ever!
And you guys can just kind of sit there like I would. And enjoy the flight. Alrighty, so are we enjoying our little flight? Cool. So I'll just turn the music down a little bit. Otherwise it'll be too loud. Alright. So, there we are. And as you can see, I got my coffee over here. So, just enough time to make a cup of coffee. As the helicopter is getting ready to make its next waypoint as we're going to come in. And I'll see if I can finish my coffee as I have this video. Hey, you want to see an outside view? So there's an outside view. When we do the outside view, we're going to turn the music up just a little bit. Release the mouse. And turn the music up. And I'll just keep the mic on in the background. I know, I've got the mic on. Just so you know, I'm drinking my coffee before the helicopter flies itself. Get all the different angles in here because, you know, some people have said I just don't show the helicopter enough. I don't show the aircraft enough. So look, we can get both. We can get the landscape and the scenery in and the helicopter all together at once. Okay, back to the cockpit. Back to the cockpit. Back to the cockpit. This is some nice music, isn't it? Make sure you do it the right way. So, again, the helicopter's just flying itself. I'm not touching anything. Hands off, see? I'm just drinking my coffee. Completely hoping that I set the altitude high enough to clear this little mountain here as it gets ready to, from what looks like to me, it's getting ready to line itself up for the final airport. And again, I'm not doing anything. I mean, and my feet are on the rudder pedals, which you can't see, but they're just resting. Now, just put my hand here so you can see that I'm not doing anything. It's right here below the cyclic as I drink my coffee. Just drinking my coffee. Just drinking my coffee as the helicopter flies itself. Isn't that cool? So this is one of the great features about this. And of course you have to be in the right view to bring up the cabin. And I suppose we could be a passenger. Right. I had different views set for this at one point. We can float to the background. As someone's sitting back here, we'll sit behind murder gloves. Well, I guess there is nobody sitting here. So we can experience what it's like to be a passenger looking out as the helicopter flies along. Looking at what looks like farmland. As Pony enjoys his coffee from the back seat of the helicopter and just says, wow, look at that. That's really pretty. And I'm out next to the guy who's trying to sell me a useless box to add something to a blockchain. I mean, hey, it's great. I mean, only if, anyways, you know, if I want to let other people on my network, just, oh, and I got to purchase the box too, but I'm going to make, you know, a percentage. Oh, I really need to stop. I don't want to make people upset. Alright. This coffee is really good. So, we can even look from the cat's point of view, since we're sitting here. Well, even the cat's looking at the map. And the cat's, what, about here? So we could see what the cat's looking at, because the cat's head's about here, right? So the cat's just kind of like chilling out right there. Maybe the head's forward a little bit more. Just like that. So the cat, we're doing the cat view, cat eye view. Oh, dragon's growl coming up. There we go. All better. But I mean, at least we get to enjoy the scenery, and at the same time we can monitor the flight. We're coming up close on our destination. So, now although I haven't let the helicopter land itself, and you might say, well, I mean, what fun is this? I mean, you're not even really flying. Well, I'm doing a short flight. But I mean, this helicopter has a considerable range. And I mean, like I'm saying, for there's parts of like maybe you, I don't know. Need to do something else really quick? Just like if you were flying an airliner. Okay, that's enough. 1 cup of coffee. Down. Back to the pilot view. So, it'll pretty much just fly along right here all the way to our destination. And that's great. So you can use this for aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft, anything that has an autopilot feature. I'm not so sure about how well it works with airliners and their MCDU. I really haven't tried it yet. But again, more or less, the Little Navmap's feature right here is right now not integrated in the helicopter. I just loaded it in for my flight plan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kill this map. So we're going to zoom into the tablet and go home and bring up our autopilot again. And so what I'm going to do is making sure that I have my hands ready to go. And we're going to land this manually with the trim off. And hopefully I don't pony crash. So now I've got to turn the background music down a little bit, but we'll leave it running. So now I'm back in control of the helicopter. And again, when I clicked manual on the bottom of the tablet right there, it's basically kind of lets go of the robotic control, the automatic flight control system of the plane, or the helicopter, to where I'm flying it more like the 407, where it's just kind of free. Alright, my lights are off, which is how I want it. I don't need landing lights. And I can see that I'm following the magenta line to the airport, because I haven't been to this new location in a while. Because you might say again, Pony, you always fly in Japan, you always... No, we're flying in a new place today. So, actually, this location kind of goes with some of the things that have happened recently in Japan. If nobody heard that there was an earthquake in Japan in the beginning of 2024. I mean, Happy New Year, Japan. So we're basically flying around the general area of where the earthquake was, well, where the epicenter was. I know we're not using live time and live weather, but and I'm sure they got lots of helicopters flying out around here right now. So that's a horrible thing, every pony, that has happened, just so you know. It really is. And so I also kind of wanted to put this out because it's kind of like, I know I showed you kind of more of an advanced helicopter video, and I was using the 407, which, don't get me wrong, the Bell 407 is a great free helicopter that comes with a sim or off the magenta line because we're not flying with the autopilot anymore. Oh, but I wanted to show you one other thing that it can do really quick, and we're going to have to re-engage the autopilot or the AFCS to do this. But I was talking about hovering. This helicopter hovers by itself. So if I release the manual mode, and now it's going to do that robotic, which is great. The automatic flight control system has great points to it. But we're not messing with the airspeed. But you have to make sure that you don't have that clicked. It has to be automatic trim and the automatic flight control system. As I start lowering my airspeed by pulling up, I want to get a little higher. And these are just tricks, and again, you're going to have to learn how to do some of the basics of flying helicopters, but I kind of want it to hover, and it will hover. Hold on. Hopefully I muted the mic in time for that. Well, we can see that our airspeed's dropping, and we're going to cross our hands. Landing gears. Up, my dear. And I go ahead and I hit hover. And the altitude instantly kicks in. And I'm just going to let it kind of roll back. So don't do this around a bunch of buildings. I already did it around a bunch of large buildings. And so we're about 200 feet off the ground, feet off the rudder pedals. Up. And it's not hovering. Okay, it's not hovering. Now it's hovering. Come on, stop sliding backwards. Okay, so it does kind of do this, but it has this auto hover feature. And that was kind of risky because we're low to the ground. You usually can hover a little higher than, say, 250 feet. But so if I go to the external view... Sorry, I should have muted my mic for that. I'm still getting over a very bad sickness. You can see that it's hovering all by itself. And I really should turn down the sim sounds for the engine because they're so loud. But I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm holding the mic closer to my face. So it's auto-hovering. You can see that it's auto-hovering. So you can see that it's auto-hovering. And you can see from the quieter cockpit view, and helicopters are really loud from the outside. If you ever hear them hover over your house, where you live, your neighborhood or stuff, you know, you'll hear them and they're loud. Or if you go to the airport, they're really loud. So, you know, I could always turn down the sounds, but I haven't done all that. And so we're automatically hovering. We're hovering at about 250, yeah, about that, about 250 feet. 218, forgive me. And you can see that our speed is 0. And of course, I'm getting the landing gear up, flashing at me. And I mean, that's pretty much it. So I set it to altitude, and so it set it, and I set it to hover, made sure the manual trim's off, and it's auto hovering. So that's kind of what you have to do. And I don't know. I think I set everything to hide the mouse lately, so I don't know. You can't see the mouse on the screen, sorry. But so if you look on the tablet, here, let's zoom into the tablet a little more for you. Sorry, everybody. So if we zoom into the tablet, these are basically the buttons you have to have pushed. So you have to have automatic hover, And the AFCS system has to be engaged. The automatic trim system has to be engaged. Do not have manual trim release engaged or it will not hover. Same thing for autopilot. This is one of the autopilot features. So let's go over it from right to left, top to bottom. So top to bottom, autopilot, everything in blue is what's selected. Autopilot is the screen we're on. The buttons that we have pushed are Automatic Flight Control System, AFCS. Automatic Trim, which is A trim. Those buttons are in blue, so those are engaged. The ones that are in black are not engaged, so we disengage the manual trim release. So it's going to be robotic, but you want it so it hovers. We have hover. That's the next button that we have engaged in blue. Hover, automatic hover. And I clicked on barrel altitude hold, which is right next to the height button. And it automatically did height, radio altitude hold, which is fine. And there you go. It will automatically hover. Now the one thing I can do while it's automatically hovering, and let's just zoom out a little bit here, is if I use my rudder pedals while it's automatically hovering, I can rotate to the right. And it's still staying in one spot, it's just turning. It's rotating like it's on one of those, rotary, whatever. Think of things that rotate, besides helicopters. Those little plastic things that you might have at home for like your spice rack or, whatever. Or like a car on a lift in a shop, that has the safety broken on it, and you can kind of rotate the car around. I wouldn't know anything about that. So there we go. So the hover's engaged. So let's get off of hover and let's get back to where we are. And I'm just going to put the helicopter back in the same direction that it's facing for the flight plan, so that we don't have to spin it around and fly all weird. And let's disengage the hover and the autopilot and keep going back to our destination. Oh, look, every pony. Our flight plan has disappeared. Or are we just that far off course? Well, at least I know where we're going. So anyhow, it will fly on autopilot the rest of the way, but we don't need it. I don't know if the automatic hover kicked the flight plan off. I'm not seeing the magenta line anymore. But I roughly know where we have to go to, so we're just going to do this manually for the rest of this tutorial video. Now you can always do something like direct to. If you remember the name of the airport that you want to go to and you want to fly it, that's a lesson in the GTN 750 autopilot. But I roughly know where we're going. In this general direction. And our airport's up ahead. And at 140 knots, I'd say we're going too fast to land. So about this helicopter. So you'll be seeing in another video coming out pretty soon where I'm flying this helicopter. I've fallen in love with the H-160 for helicopters. And maybe you will too, if you like helicopters. It's just beautiful. In so many ways. Okay, so our airport is pretty much over here. It's over there. It's to our left. Okay. And this is where the automatic flight control system comes in great. When you're feeling how Pony's been feeling lately, and you just don't want to have your hands on everything. But I suppose I can fly the helicopter. If I have to. But I won't like it. But I'll do it. Anyways. As long as I don't have to listen to people try and sell me crap on that zip coins with, yeah, with their proprietary hardware. That'll get you booted from the flight, buddy. Alright. Let's see. Getting closer. Getting closer. Getting Pony closer to where we're supposed to be. How do you know? Are we going the wrong way? We are. That way. All discombobulated when the map's not in the proper location and I don't know where I'm going. It's always important to know where you're going, every pony. Okay. Again, using it as a point of reference. So the airport should be up here-ish. Roughly in front of us. I believe that's it off to the left. I could be wrong. Oh, we're coming up on it. I know we are. As we stumble and fumble and... Anyone ever watch Mr. Magoo? And not the movie. I mean, I guess the movie counts. I'm talking about the old cartoon. Alright. Oh, I just Mr. Magooed again. The mic was off. I don't know if anybody heard anything about that. So I'm going to hit hover. Right. And it's going to go ahead and bring itself into a hover. And I am going to look, because I'm clear of everything, I'm going to look for this airport, because man, oh man. How far away is this place? It's right up ahead. Oh, see, there is the magenta line. It didn't lose it just because we hit hover. We've just been flying blindly. So, see, bad pony. Pony's like not being good. So what I can also do really quick is I can just adjust my heading. Just so I have a point of reference. So this is your heading. Oh, we already have it set to heading. Okay. So, but I didn't think I had it set to heading. I guess it does it by default. Or the heading works with the hover. Well, you learn something new every day. Okay, so the airport is pretty much right in front of us. So we crossed one river, we're going to cross the next, and then we're going to cross a little river, and it's going to be right over there. I guess where the blinking, flashing lights are. Alrighty. Alrighty. So while it hovers. No, it's not really hovering, it's just kind of automatically flying. So, we're actually going to, what? Tomaya International Airport. That's where we're going. So it's outside of the town of Tomoya, and this roughly is pretty much where, again, we're kind of like flying in the like Ishikawa prefecture area. And this is, again, where pretty much where the epicenter of this earthquake was recently. So alright, so we have all of this disengaged, and again, it's a great thing about this helicopter. Let's make sure that our nose is pointed in the right direction. Let's get our views going, and you're going to say, this was a long pony video. Not a short pony video. I was going to say vortex. Alright, because we're coming out of a hover. So let's land this thing. And you might say, well, I just wasn't in the mood for such a long pony video. Well, I hope not. So the airport's right there, every pony. We're almost there. It's almost there. It's almost over. We're almost there. Should be... Look for the blinking lights, pony. So let's put our gears down. Put our landing lights on. And let's drop our airspeed, seeing as how we're doing this manually. So this helicopter is a great helicopter. But if you don't bring it down soft as a feather, don't try and land it like the Bell 407. It will not ka-clunk. This helicopter is a non-ka-clunk helicopter. It does not like the ka-clunk. Okay. There's our airport, so let's lower our airspeed in the helicopter. We've already turned on our landing lights. We've got 3 greens, so our gears are down. And here's our destination. And we're reducing our airspeed. See that they even striped the bridge. This is add-on scenery, by the way. I don't know how it is in the sim by default, but this is add-on scenery. Free add-on scenery from Flightsim.to. Okay. And if it says check power, it's letting me know that I'm going into a vortex ring state, which is bad. So you couldn't land like this in a fixed-wing aircraft, and hopefully Pony doesn't get us all killed. Parking brake's on, Pony. Now the parking brake is off. Alrighty. Let's feather it in. And my vertical speed gauge on this is on my display. It's the downward or upward arrow on the green. And I'm just going to bring this in, hopefully light as a feather. Yes, yes, more power. I know. Yeah, I still need to master landing this thing. Okay, we're going to try and get it on the numbers. Much easier in VR. Okay. Gently, Pony. Where it's going to say you collided with an object. Close enough to on the numbers, right? How about right past the run-up area? Not floating backwards. Let's nose forward a little bit. All over the numbers as if it was a helipad. And gently, gently. Gently. Baby it. All the way down. And there we are. Ta-da! As if we were on a helipad. So, that's pretty much it. And we're just going to taxi. We're just going to taxi as if it was an airplane following the taxi lines. And you might say, hey Pony, I noticed that the runways are... Some of these runways have got yellow markings. Now they do. Here's a little Pony fun fact. The runway markings are yellow because the Japanese figured, smart cookies they are, that you can see the runway markings easier when it's snowing if they're like a yellowy orange versus a white. Aha! Pretty smart, if you ask me. Okay, so I'm just looking for a way out without tipping this. Some kind of taxi line. And that was the back end of the helicopter hovering. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to look for the taxi. Oh, it really is far ahead, isn't it? Well, let's go ahead and just maybe fast taxi down the runway. And you would say, well, why don't you just take off, Pony? Why don't you just do that? Well, I could, I suppose. But I'm looking for more of a taxi line. I want to try and do this the right way. It is part of the fun of flight simming, is learning the proper ways to fly. Not the, it's just a game. Because it is, right? But, you know. So here we go. We are going down the runway looking for a taxi line because we're going to taxi to parking. It's a big international airport. And they're probably like, dude, get off the runway, Pony. And I'm saying, yeah. Why didn't you land in the middle of the runway? Why didn't you land on the helipad? I don't know if this has a helipad that we could land on. I would imagine it does. Alrighty. But I mean, I guess when you're careening down the runway in a jumbo jet that's fully loaded full of passengers and bags, you know, that you need really long runways. Not like helicopters that just need a little landing pad. As long as you learn how to master flying the helicopter. Oh look, I'm seeing a little line up ahead to my left. Not the cross line in front of us. Is that just a scratch on the runway? Or is it that they're happy to see me? Alright, let's see. I see up ahead, I spy with my little eye something that looks like a taxiway. And this is third-party add-on scenery, so yeah, there it is right up there to our left. So this is third-party add-on scenery. I have no idea what it's like in the sim stock. I didn't spend much time with it there. And I just noticed that I could get some really nice add-on scenery for free. And I was like, I'm just going to download it. So again, this is not the stock Asobo scenery. But it is free, or it's donationware. So let's just taxi on out. This airport's kind of cool looking. Gonna have to explore it more, but again, short video. Alright. Don't want to roll this thing. Yes, you can actually put this helicopter on its side, and then it'll do the same thing. You collided with an object because you were impatient and you rolled the aircraft. So, we're gonna get out of the way of where the Jumbo jets would come in. And we'll just go park over here for right now, which looks fine to me. Right over here. And then we will just shut her down in the corner, out of the way of all the big airliners that are going to come in. Be like, there's a helicopter in my way. Set the parking brake. Go up and shut this down the pony way. Now you can shut this down. There's a cold and dark setting on the tablet, but I'll kind of do it manually the way I know how to do it. So engines to idle. Give them a second. Oh, let's kill our landing light. Oh, and let's kill our strobe lights real quick, because people get really pissy about that, even in the sim sometimes. So autopilot lights, so strobe, and we can leave the position of the anti-collision lights on, but you have a setting for the lights right there. And go back up here. I have it bound to a key, so I can get there easily. Shutting the engines off. We don't need any of these, because we're not going anywhere. And we don't need generators or batteries. Don't need anything. Turn the generators off. Turn the batteries off. Master off. Close enough. And so all of our displays are dark. And I can go ahead and I can let people out of the helicopter. Right? So, clicking over here. Well, let's go back to lights. Those two are off, but they should be off anyways because we killed the battery. Go to aircraft. Oh, look. We went from 50% fuel to 14%. So let's get rid of some people. Get rid of the zip coin guy. And murder gloves. And there we go. We can even open the back door, so it's like we let them out. It sounds more like an old cash register drawer. Alright. And we don't want to let the cat out right away. But there we go. So we can open the back doors, and then it even has a cargo door. Let's go ahead and just go back again inside. And open the cargo door. Why not? Cargo doors. We'll just open one for right now. Alright. See? There. And they can all get their bags and stuff, and their drinks, and their, you know, sales brochures. So, there you have it. The H-160 and a little bit of Little Navmap's tutorial thrown in there. Again, Little Navmaps, I'm just going to say this. Read the directions on how to set it up. Follow it step by step. There's a couple things you have to do, but once you get it set up and get it set in, it's great. And then you got to get your aircraft profiles in. But anyhow, even just as a basic flight plan generator, it's great. And this is the H-160 high performance group. It's a great helicopter. Autopilot and everything. So, thanks for watching this video. And I wanted to say to everybody, if you like what you saw here, whether you find it funny, informative, or whether you even think it's horrible, well, feel free to like my videos and subscribe to Derp Your Hooves and even share my videos. And as always, everybody and every pony, thank you for watching Derp Your Hooves, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the skies.